And we are live. We are live. Let's play the share around music while we share it around here. Let's see what happens. What is going on with my... What is the real deal here? There we go. You're right. Hey, Chris.
How's it going, fellas?
Good, buddy, good.
I'm driving. I may go through some bad spots.
All good, man. All right. You're around. Ready for intro, Kenny?
Yeah, I didn't get it shared yet, but I was on the phone when I sorry about that.
No, that's all right, man.
I sent you a text. I sent you a text.
Yeah, I thought.
It won't take me long to share.
Yeah. I'm going to roll intro. You can hear them. Hello, friends, fans, and faithful followers. Welcome to the ABTA Tuesday Night Live. What is going on here? There it is, your weekly source for tracking content where we cover all things tracking and training and bring it to you the only way we know how. How is that? No nonsense and no politics. Today will be no politicking and no nonsensing our way through the Iowa event recap. With currently on the line, Chris Moffitt, driving from point A to point B, and in the sewing studio, John Sturdivant. Men, how are you?
Good.
John, I say sewing studio. I should say in your sewing. What is that? What you got going there?
Spinning wheels.
Spinning wheels.
So much for no nonsense.
Hey, no nonsense. I didn't say about my ignorance. There's plenty of that.
I thought he was saying this was a sewing circle.
Yeah.
So circle might be as much as the trackers get around and complain about things. It might be a sewing circle. Not the sewing circle people complain. That's not what I'm getting at.
He builds his flip flops in there.
Builds the flip flops in there.
Yeah.
Hey Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey.
Yeah. So we're just past a week beyond the Iowa event. And it is trekking season in Iowa right now. It's trekking season in Florida right now. Michigan has had a couple of early weekends we were able to track. And we're getting ready to hit it full tilt boogie on October 1 with basically the rest of the nation. When does your regular season open out there, guys?
1st October.
Yep, same. So you got an early youth season now, just like we had a couple of weeks ago. Well, same weekend as the event, 13th, 14th. And then we had here in Michigan our early antlerless season last weekend. And Wednesday, week from tomorrow, October 1, we hit it just like you guys do. So before we get into the event recap, in talking about the forthcoming season, Kenny and I spoke just a little bit ago, and the Tuesday night lives are going to become a little more intermittent and spontaneous after today, starting next week, as with everybody out tracking. To include Kenny, he's already knee deep in tracks and overwhelmed with tracks. And I'm going to start getting pretty dang busy on October 1st, and increasingly busy as we go through October, and the rest of the nation is as well. So what we're going to do, in lieu of a regularly scheduled Tuesday night live, we're going to have Tuesday night content for sure. We'll post some other videos, YouTube videos and things for those who are interested in able on Tuesdays to watch, but they may not always be live. Any lives that come out will be relatively spontaneous when Kenny and I don't have anything to do, or Kenny or I don't have a track to run, and we want to jump on and talk about whatever we want to talk about. We'll take whatever follows we can get. We may go live on the drive home from a track, spontaneously. So that's what it's going to look like. And we appreciate everybody who's been loyal followers through the regularly scheduled stuff. And we will resume the regularly scheduled stuff probably January, February. But we are going to have stuff out there. So spread the word. I'll put a post on the Facebook, ABTA Facebook page too, kind of announcing the shift in our approach to the Tuesday night lives based on tracking season. We all want to go do what we talk about, not talk about what we want to do. So that's what's going to happen. So I just wanted to put that out there. So guys, Chris, Jeff, and John, thanks for joining us. We'll have potentially have another guest join us. He's on a track right now. Chris Johnson, who was an attendee at the event, said that he would love to join us and talk about his experience, but he's on a track. Well, tell him to join when he can. And Ethan Young, who was ABTA cast member, he'll be joining us a little bit too as he can. So I just want to say thanks to the Iowa Blood Trackers Association, John, Jeff, and Chris, for joining us here and having us out in a couple weeks ago, or a week or so ago, for the event, guys. Thank you.
We definitely appreciate you guys coming up for it again this year. Great time.
Yeah. Well, and we appreciate that. We're looking forward to, we're going to have our after action review, our real hardcore conversations tomorrow. and to talk about, we're always looking for ways to make things better. Good is good, but good's not great. And I'm not saying we weren't great, and I'm not saying we were good. I don't know. But I think it was decent, and I always want to find a way to make it better. And with that unfiltered feedback and an open mind, we can get there. And just everything I do, everything at work, I'm trying to find ways to improve processes and make things better. So I approach these events the same way. And Kenny and I have already been talking. I think what we have is good, but we've been talking about, what can we do to make it better? What other content can we bring that's new, unique, and different? So,
And I wouldn't say just better, but what can we bring to the table that will advance things to the next level from what we covered this year?
oh yeah, for sure, yeah, and So maybe better wasn't the best choice of words, but always looking to build on what we've got. How's that? Build on what
That's
we've
right.
got.
And it's good, people go to events every year, the same event, that they don't want to hear exactly the same thing. They want to learn something new. And so changing things up is always a positive.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just recap. We had, I think, 25 to include. We had 22 registered, and we had some. The holders come with their camera guy, so I think we were up to like 25 or so attendees. Maybe we may have had a couple of other trickle in that didn't get on a list, and that's fine. So 25 or so attendees, which is pretty good. I thought there was great engagement, and we administered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tests. It looks like 8 tests, which isn't a lot, but it was enough for the conditions. And 3 of those were advanced level tests. We had 2 finished and 2 finished tests and 1 elite test. And Jeff was 2 of those advanced tests. So it was pretty tough conditions out there for testing, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah, it's some of the toughest I've seen.
Well,
Yeah.
We had a number of tests that were moved out too to a later time.
Yeah, well, and that's part of it. Yeah, so we had more that were originally scheduled, but just based on the way that things were going out there, it was very hot. It was in the upper 90s, I think. Very, very dry. Jeff, I think you said it. You had measurable rain there in the area since, at that time, July 27th, 29th?
28th, yeah, 28th.
July 28th. And that's true, because at the event, John, when we were, when Kenny and I and you were all out there on Friday night or Thursday night, rather, there was a big old crack in the ground where it's just looked like a dried up riverbed, man. And it was very tough conditions.
Yep, it certainly was. But now it's wet and cool.
Is it wet and cool? Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it's like fishing. We should have been there last week or next week's. When it's going to be hot, right? Yeah, or good. But because of those conditions, we kind of collaborated there after the seminar and said, okay, these Sunday tests, it's not going well because frankly we only had one person pass, and that, Jeff, that was a test that you did on Sunday. The one Sunday
Right.
test we did do, that frankly was the only pass, and you did that one very early in the morning.
Right.
But so we just started making calls saying, hey, for the locals, maybe we ought to think about rescheduling, when Chris and Jeff can accommodate something when it's more favorable conditions, because it was
Right, they were tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. So the first test, long we're on a testing topic, the first test we did, Jeff, was your finish test on Friday. Yeah, Friday.
Right.
And, so we go back to Thursday, laying that line. That was quite entertaining. So let me paint this picture, John, and I'll let you chime in. And then Jeff, I'd love to have you just kind of talk about the test a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just some of the conditions, because I was like, holy crap. But so we're laying the finish test line Thursday night. Finish test line is no joke. I mean, there's a fair amount of, it's far different than a started or even a season test when it comes to just laying the line. There's a lot of things you got to account for. So it was a 3-man band out there laying that line with Kenny Mullins in the lead, because he had it mapped out Thursday night in the dark in a land we have never seen before in our lives, Kenny and I, at the campgrounds at the Lake Aquabi State Park where John was staying. So we lay the line in that state land next to John's campsite in the dark. Kenny's leading. John is behind Kenny, laying the bloodline, and I'm behind John with the shoes and the Garmin. And we're chugging along, following the map line that Kenny had laid out, only to find quickly that we gotta deviate a little bit, because we came up on I think they call it on Mount Everest, a crevasse. a big steep gully that seemed much bigger in the dark. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was plenty big in the daylight. So we had to make some on-the-fly decisions in line altering. Nothing that compromised the integrity or anything of the line, but just the map as mapped didn't quite work, and which is not uncommon. But what was uncommon is when Kenny takes us through hither and yon, and the guy with the shoes, the big ape man in the back, rolls an ankle. Down goes Frazier. I didn't fall down, but I will tell you it hurt. Oh, I thought I was going to be able to tough that out. It was super embarrassing. I felt everything in my ankle pop. I go, oh no, I got to get through this. I can't not finish this line. I took about 3 more steps with a great big giant Iowa deer hooves on the bottom of those Wascow shoes, as stable as that is. I couldn't do it.
We figured you would be fine. We figured you had good balance from your weekend high heel adventures.
That's not funny, because that's not true. Yeah.
Dancing in the pink tutu with the high heels.
Dancing in the pink tutu, yeah, and my Rockette heels. Is that what you're getting at, Mullins? Well, so now all of a sudden I've got to swallow my pride and say, John, I can't do it. So John swoops in to save the day. John and I switch positions. John puts on the shoes. I take middle position and limp my way through, following Kenny wherever the hell he was going, putting the blood down. And
we wanted to leave you there as a distraction for the next day.
Yeah, it might have been a good one. God, that was funny. Yeah. But we got through that. We got the line laid, and it was not without a good rest of the evening and into the next morning. Appropriately, I might add, banter for me getting wounded and laying, the dog going to be tracking my distress pheromone, and it's going to be an easy line with the drag line that I made dragging my ankle. Jeff's not going to have any problem seeing where the line is and taking my Midolls and stuff like that. Oh my God, you guys were on that list. And it was funny and completely appropriate, by the way, in a very inappropriate way. I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. But it was cool. In all seriousness, I mean, I wish I didn't roll my ankle, but then I do genuinely appreciate, John, your willingness to help us out. But that was a lot. It was a lot of fun. You know, we got it down. We got next day we come out and laid the distractions and doctored up the line as part of the finished criteria. And Jeff, you came out and ran it, man.
Yeah, so brought Jax out, my 5-year-old Catahoula, and notice I said Catahoula, not Bloodhound, but anyhow,
Yeah,
I brought him out.
I heard dog, but go ahead.
Anyway, we that finish line, it was dry. It was very dry. It was very hot. Jax did good. I noticed did a lot better through the broken vegetation or disturbed vegetation than just on the dry, canopy floor, just the dry leaves and dirt and stuff. But he did good. First couple 100 yards. Got a little snafu there, missed a 90, we got a call back there. But then continued on. We had a little issue with some thermals in that ditch that you were mentioning, and took him a while to work out of that. But I knew if we could ever get higher than what that thermal was producing there, that he ought to be able to cut it. But it took us a while. But he finally worked out of that, and then I think by the time we got down there to where we got our last call back, it was just he was exhausted, but it was just not just wasn't something that we were going to finish in the time that the time was allotted. But I still think he did a pretty good job as far as under the conditions. I think had we had the conditions that we had in 24. With a little more moisture on the ground, not quite as dry and a lot cooler temperatures, maybe we'd had a little different outcome. But all in all, it was those tests are not a gimme in any of them, at the started season or the finished. But definitely the dogs got to work for it, and the handlers got to know how to read the dog and know what's going on. But yeah, I think the conditions played a part in that, and us not getting further through the test in the time that was allotted there.
That ditch, that was brutal. It's and as you were trying to work out of it, the winds were shifting pretty quickly. I mean, it was just swirling all around. So by the time you try to make a move and you made the right call of what to do, and then when you started making that move, all of a sudden the winds shifted completely opposite directions. It was just a nightmare right there.
Yeah, it was bad. In fact, Jeff, I think I said at that time, I was a judge. Kenny was the quality control judge, and Chris and John were the gallery. But I think I said at one point, and I haven't done a bunch of tests, but I've done 18 or 20 or something. That was one of the most thermally dynamic tests that I've been a part of. With that, there was a point there. What do you think from the peak of where the line actually was laid down to the bottom of that creek bed? What do you think the elevation difference was at its biggest difference, Jeff?
I'd say 25 probably 25 feet. Maybe pushing 28 in places.
I 100% agree with that. I was going to say 25, 30 feet. And a little dry creek bed at the bottom, but it wasn't this rolling slope. It was pretty abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to parallel that for a while, and that's where you're right. I mean, the grid searched area right at the beginning, that caused, by design, it should have, it caused, Jex had to work through that, but once he did, but the funny part was, no sooner work through that grid search, we get going across and we come to the property boundary, which in the finish test requires a 10-minute wait. We get permission from old man Johnson to go onto his property, and things get trucking along. What happened right away, Jeff?
Well, there was a male chicken in the woods.
One of Chris's laying hens, yeah.
I think they call it a rooster. I called it something else in the woods, but anyhow.
Yeah. This time it was penned up. It wasn't like last year where they lassoed it by the ankle or whatever a chicken has.
Yeah.
But that was that one even startled me. I mean, I knew it was there. Now, so the chicken was in a cage, but Jeff didn't know that, because of the way the cage was set. It was kind of, there's some ferns or some type of taller vegetation. Couldn't see it. Jeff's, 30 feet behind Jax, you said, right?
Right.
Yeah, 30 foot behind Jax. We're behind Jeff. And all of the sudden, it just erupted. The chicken was just off the trail. Jax gets by that cage. The chicken explodes. Jax goes banana. Jeff pulls the lead. And I'm telling Jeff, it's in the cage. It's in the cage. Because you couldn't see it at that point. I didn't want you to think it was still alive. So it was pandemonium for a second. So the distraction worked like a distraction was supposed to. It was a distraction.
That's right.
It alarmed even me. But Jax worked through it. I mean, there was a lot that went on there for a second. So it took him, a minute or less. But
yeah, it was literally seconds, because I got it on video. Literally seconds.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
literally seconds. But even after it calmed down, he kept going back. But you got him through it, Jeff. I mean, and I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen, because that was, to me, a pretty big distraction. The dog, it scared the shit out of the dog. It startled the heck out of all of us. I didn't know what was going to happen, but you handled it great. Got through that and got him refocused. So
Right. Yep.
But that thermals was tough. There's a lot of time spent there in those conditions, and like you said, you were calling it 100% right in terms of, because at one point you said, "Man, I need to get up out of here," and you worked up, and finally he did, worked it out on the top, and we were able to progress. But it was quite a while right there.
Right. That ate up a lot of the clock.
You did.
And a lot of my patience as a handler, so from that point forward, from there to the end of the test, which he hit a pretty good run there out of that ditch, but and then we got to the next spot there where that scent gap was, and then I think it if anything failed us from that point. At that point, it was more my reactions as a handler and trying to figure out what was going on. So, I think having the few tests that I've judged, and also and the ones that I've handled dogs on, and the tests that I've run myself, it's more often I've seen it's the handler that fails the test than before the dog does. So. The dog reacts and reads what the handler's thinking and the emotions and what's going on with the person they trust most, and so that played a lot into that ending there.
Yeah, and I would agree with that sentiment as well. And it's hard to not get rattled. I mean, my finish test, I got rattled early too. and so much so that even though I got a call back, I let my dog go the same dang way. It's just
Right.
that test paranoia stuff that happens sometimes, and in the conditions, although it was very hot here in Michigan, the condition there was more moisture. It was a lot more humidity than there was on your test, and it was just, man, there just wasn't moisture to be found. So it's just tough. I mean, there's nothing we could do about it, but it just made for tough conditions overall for everybody that tested.
Terrain challenges and weather challenges combined. One or the other you might work through, but when you stack them both together, it gets really tough.
You got that right, and to the point where I started to feel bad. I'm like, God darn, man, this is this is something. So, yep, you timed out, but what's that?
I was going to say that, the same thing with the elite test the next day with Kai, my 6-year-old female. Same conditions, hot, dry, just not optimal for tracking. It's about tracking in general, but especially for testing. But anyhow, and I noticed that yesterday on that first track of the year that we ran. It was a 1 3/4 mile, 1.75 mile start to where we started to where the deer was recovered at. And she worked like a totally different dog. We were 20 degrees cooler. We'd had 1.5 inches of rain since that week, the weekend that we were had the testing event in the seminar. But so a lot more moisture there. I could also tell that she was especially through the bean fields and stuff like that. She was more sending off the broken vegetation. Through the beans. But there was still enough moisture holding that scent to the ground in the timber that she was able to work through that whole track. We got caught up in a little scent pool there towards the end, but kind of cast it out and made a semicircle around it, and she cut the line. But moisture plays such a huge role, especially here in the Midwest. This time of year, it's our usually our dry time. Unlike what we were used to tracking in the South, there was always some humidity. Usually some moisture there to be had on the vegetation or on the ground. But this year and last year we had a pretty good dry spell here. But this year just been seems like the tracking conditions have just been a lot worse because of the weather conditions.
Yeah. I remember my first year tracking the early, half of the season in October. It was so dry, man. It was just there were a lot of big deer being shot, but bad scenting conditions is bad scenting conditions. So if it ain't good for the dog, it ain't good for the deer either.
That's right.
And there were some good deer being shot, but boy, all the trackers were struggling. And in me, my first year, that just compounded my struggles, not just the natural first year young dog struggles, but we finally got some rain and that got better. But dry is terrible, man. And your elite test, Jeff, was Saturday morning, and it was hotter Saturday than it was Friday.
It was more humid, but the humidity didn't reach the ground. I think it stayed about shoulder level right in our faces. So it did not make it down to where the scent was on the ground. So, but anyway, it was nasty Saturday morning. We had only been 400 yards, and looking at her, I would have thought she had already been a mile. She was gassing out pretty fast on that track. Since she's been here in Iowa, she's not accustomed to those hot, humid days like she was when we were living in Mississippi. But so there's a lot of yeah.
I heard something. I was listening to the Houndsman XP podcast, one of theirs, and I don't remember which episode it was or what it was titled. But they were talking about how the humidity and Jeff and Kenny, you guys would know this better than probably John and I would, being from the South and just chronic humid climates. But just the humidity, even in cooler temperatures, just how hard humidity is on a dog, just in general. So Jeff, to your point, you know, on that elite test, which is already no joke. I mean, a finish test is no joke. The elite test is even less of a joke, with the challenges and that are built into that line. So now you have the heat, you have the humidity, and you have all of the challenge that dog has to work through, burning all of that brain power, which we all know is a compounding factor on physical fatigue on the dog. So just that was just a trifecta of what the heck, man. You know, the dogs were just smoked in those back. I mean, they gave it their all, but just tough. Just tough.
Yeah, definitely. Kenny has he'll know a lot more of how that humidity plays and the scientific reasons or whatever. But I just know from just holding the opposite end of the lead is that I just know it gasses them. Seems like a lot faster.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know the physiological reasons why that is, but anyway,
we're battling it right now. It's you know, I just shared a post. So yesterday we went on a track, John and I, and we took 2 of my dogs. And normally I would have taken more, but you know, we've been on so many tracks, and the dogs, it's so hot and dry. The dogs are just getting burned up. So we loaded up 2 dogs and went on the track, and we ended up jumping this deer, and we took it maybe 500-600 yards total, and the dogs were they were out of gas. I mean, they were breathing so heavy, it's like they were snoring. So I asked the hunter, I said, is there any water on the property? I said, I got to get these dogs cooled off. And we ended up going pretty good ways out of the way, but I had to get the dogs in the water to cool off. And he's like, hey, there is a big gator in here. I said, well, you know, at this point, you know, we're going to have to take our chances, and we got to get the dogs cooled off. And so John's standing there with a pistol, you know, guarding the dogs at the edge of the water, letting them get cooled off. And I told the hunter, I said, hey, we've got to go get some fresh dogs. And this was 10, 15 minutes from my house. So we left to go get dogs. And then the hunter texted me and he said, hey, something's came up. It's out of my control. We can't go back out. And I knew we were going to get this deer. I mean, I knew without a doubt we were going to get the deer. And today he contacted me and said, hey, I can go back out at 6:30. Do y'all want to do it? And I said, well, I can't. I got the live stream. But I can send John out there. And he ended up recovering the deer. But again, this morning I couldn't, because it's so hot and dry. You know, I couldn't take my normal dogs. So I had to take a couple of dogs that hadn't been worked. And I mean, we ended up with a recovery. It's brutal. It's hot. It's dry. I think pretty much everywhere.
yeah.
What do you mean it's dry? It's dry down there?
It's very dry.
Is it really?
Yeah, a lot of our swamps are, you know, dry. Places like the track today, we tracked through, or this morning, we tracked through an area that would normally be knee high to waist deep, and it was bone dry.
Wow.
So that picture that you just sent with that deer, it looks like that typically is underwater.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it is dry, because I can kind of tell on the root balls of that entanglement where the water level typically is. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, where I called the dogs off like I said, they jumped the deer, and it's kind of a unique situation on this property. The landowner has a 40 to 50 acre high fence breeder pen for whitetail, and I'm talking, 200 to 300 inch whitetail.
Oh, just a little one.
So the hunter told me, he's like, hey, if it goes anywhere near that high fence, we got to call the dogs off, because we can't risk the bucks getting spooked, and sometimes they'll run into the fence and actually kill themselves trying to get out.
Yeah, imagine like a $10,000 deer getting.
Yeah, that's what he said. We're talking $10,000 to $15,000, $20,000 deer, and so I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my Garmin, and I told him, I said, they can stop this deer if we have the room, and it was running straight towards that high fence, and I called him off. And so we went that way, try to get them back on it, but by the time we got there, it was so hot, so dry, they were overheated, and they were doing everything they could, and they were still working it. But that's where we called them off, and I asked John when he went back today. This evening, he started at the original shot site, which I told him. I said, "Hey, if I were you, let's just start at the original shot site and see if maybe, things you can play scenarios out." And I'm like, maybe we missed something, maybe something went wrong, but it wasn't. He said the dogs went pretty much the same exact way, and actually found it where they took the water break. The deer had bedded down 150 yards on the other side of that water, but it did a big loop, because like we walked out of our way to go to that water, and they were on the trail. It did a big loop and was laying 150 yards from where we took the water break. But there was no way we could get those dogs back on. We'd have killed the dogs.
Yeah. Early season is tough, man. Yeah. See, and that's just funny. Just my perception of Florida is so northern. I think there's a gator in every water hole. I think that there's water holes everywhere and swamps. And that's partly your fault, Mullins, because every tracking story you talk about, you're freaking doing the breaststroke across this gator-infested swamp to get to this brushy crap in the middle where the deer like to hide.
That's normally true. It's just this year it's bad.
Huh.
Yeah, a lot of comments about humidity and dry and being dry everywhere. Yeah, Darby says it's dry in Mississippi too, Jeff. So.
Yeah, well, this time of year, I very rarely, if we had not had that rain, very rarely this time of year will I take a daytime track. Most all my tracks, I'll try to push them off tonight, hoping for some dew fall to try to help get a little moisture on the vegetation. But especially if it's above 75 degrees, I'm just not going to put the dogs through it. I'll wait till it cools off, and hopefully we get a little nighttime dew to help with the moisture, and it seems like we have a little more success. Not that it helps a whole lot, but it helps. Any moisture will help from what it's been.
Yeah, thermals become more favorable, let alone temperature. But there's a well-respected tracker, and I won't say her name, but I'll let you figure it out. She has a saying that says, "Nighttime is the right time when it comes to tracking."
That's right.
That's right.
She prefers to track at night whenever she can.
Yeah, so, I do as well.
Yeah,
lots of advantages.
Yeah,
I like to sleep at night.
I don't mind tracking at night. I do a whole bunch of tracking at night. For all the reasons, Jeff, that you talked about. Just the conditions are just so much better. But boy, I like to see. I just like to see. So, but I mean, I will wait if I can. But okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about just seminar content and stuff, and boy, I really hope Chris can join us. First of all, I want to hear about his track, but I want to lead with the doggone smoked pork that he had. My goodness, was that delicious. I mean, I will go back to every Iowa event simply to have the smoked pork butt.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we were lucky to have Chris Johnson and his dad prepare that meat for our event. I don't think anybody left hungry. If they did, it was their fault.
You got that right, and I know I went back for more because man, it was good. But
That's how
so,
we
yeah.
eat every day in Iowa.
What's that, buddy?
That's how we eat every day in Iowa.
God bless you, man. I'd weigh 500 pounds. I'm already a big man. So yeah, the event. I mean, I'd love to hear, from your perspective, just what you guys thought of the seminar section. We talked about the testing section, but their segment, but the seminar segment, and hopefully Chris can come on and just talk about some of the things that that he enjoyed from it. But John, is there anything, what would you share about it from your perspective as an admin in the Iowa Blood Trackers Association and a participant and attendee of the seminar?
Yeah, there was so much to the event beyond just the seminar stuff.
Yeah.
It was exciting to me to see a new crowd of attendees. Pretty much everybody there wasn't there the year before, and so which is a positive. It would have been nice to have the people that were there last year as well, but it's nice to have all these other people coming out and coming from different states, and the interaction, the engagement during the seminars. I mean, people just weren't sitting there like wooden soldiers. I mean, they were getting engaged. And so when you see that, you're hitting on the right things, and you're hitting on things that people want to hear. It's it's a lot to cram in one day. It's hard to go at times, maybe as deep as I'm sure you guys would like to. I think about the discussions on scent movement. I mean, that can be a lifelong study. There's so much to that most don't understand, and I understand very little. And the more I learn about it, the more I wonder why didn't I know that? And so it really helps piece some things together when you're having problems on real tracks or test tracks. The off-season work, Matt, that you went through, really it's an eye-opener. I mean, it's a game changer. I think for all of us, if we put it into practice, because, let's face it, we've got more days to work with our dogs outside of the season than we do in the season.
Yeah.
Throughout the year. Well, let's, so to learn new things that we can get the most out of that, other than just going through the motions and following our dogs. I'm looking forward to next spring and starting to run more test lines.
More practice lines and stuff. Yeah, and I appreciate that feedback. And you're right. Kenny and I talk about that all the time, and is striking the balance. And I don't know where that balance is, because the things that we talk about are important, but how do you talk about all of the important things at a level that is meaningful without being there, for 14 hours?
Yeah.
And then so you got to kind of pick and choose, find a balance, skim over this, spend a little more time on that, or you've got to peel back the topics and allow yourself time to dive deep into 4 topics rather than cover the top important things on 8 topics.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you're dancing on a head of a pin. It's what is that balance? Because there's something to be gained from all of it. That's what I wrestle with all the time. And Kenny's probably sick and tired of hearing me say that. What does right look like? What is a great seminar? And that's relatively subjective, but you want to share it all, but you can't.
One of the things I really appreciated that you guys tried to do, you can sit, you can read about this stuff, you can look at PowerPoints, you can listen to people talk about it, but then, let's go outside and show you what this really means. Let's go outside and demonstrate what we're talking about. And I think being able to mix that up, and it was tough in the dry and hot conditions, and people not really wanting to stand out in the sun. It was just brutal out there. But to show somebody in real life, so this is what we're talking about. Now, here's a dog. Here's a handler. This is what we're talking about. Watching the reaction of the dogs with the different lines and things you guys were trying to do outside. And again, it wasn't optimal conditions. I think, to me, that takes what's being presented and makes it come to life and makes it stick in our frontal lobes. So that's real important to be able to do that when conditions allow. And you guys, worked hard at that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate
we
that.
had a lot more that we wanted to do, but because of conditions, we had to mix things up a little bit. I mean, it was just, and this is coming from Florida guy that likes warmer weather. It was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hot. For me, not to prattle on here, but
No, please go ahead.
Some of the biggest aha moments for me is being able to follow along on 2 tests.
No, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, go ahead. Please share.
I'd never done that before, and I think I'd made comments I've never watched other than my own dogs. Other people handle dogs on a track. I mean, you can watch videos; it's not the same. And it was nice because even on Jeff's first line there that I helped lay in the middle of the night, I didn't know where it was. And
Yeah.
I mean, because everything looked different during the day, and you guys had the electronics. And so watching the dog, watching Jeff, or watching a started line with Ethan, and again, I didn't know where the test line was. It just, I had no clue how much watching another handler and another dog work on a test line can teach you. I mean, so that was just a huge aha moment for me. And
John, you're giving me goosebumps. I love, that's awesome stuff, man.
It's just very, very, very eye-opening. Everybody needs to be able to do that. And I know it's sometimes on tests, people don't want people following along, but that's one of the things I want to do more of in the future is do that, because I think it would accelerate my knowledge and learning significantly.
It definitely does. It will make you a much better handler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does, and I will attest to that too. As my first year being a judge, although I know where the line is as a judge, you can still see how other handlers are engaging with their dogs who don't know where the line is, and you can see how other dogs engage with the line, and it does help you. It's just really good stuff. You can start to see, if you get a thermally dynamic terrain similar to what Jeff had, or some of mine out back, which isn't near as dynamic as what Jeff's test line was in, but I have some nice little thermal opportunities back there, and running the dogs on, running test lines back there and watching how the thermals may have impacted the line and seeing the dog interact with that. It's exposure too. I mean, you can run as many test lines or practice lines as you want with your dog, and you're still going to do that. But now you get to see however many other lines you get to see by either following along on a test or judging a test. Hint, hint, John.
Yeah. It's slip that in. Huh?
Yes.
So I video my test lines or practice tracks all the time and rewatch.
Yep.
I think I've mentioned that before. And I get a lot out of it. Following behind the handler and the dog is, you take that times 10 for what you get out of it.
Yeah.
So
That's it. It's a lot of fun and it can be very beneficial.
Yeah, definitely appreciated that opportunity.
Oh, anytime. I'll keep you posted as I have tests scheduled, John. You can just buzz over and follow along.
Yeah.
It was only about 8.5 hours.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
No.
Well, Jeff and Chris are a little closer.
Okay. What about you, Jeff? From just an overall experience standpoint, I know you shared your test experiences, which were brutal, but just conditions wise. But what about from an overall perspective? What comments or would you like to share or feedback?
The seminar, we've been planning this thing since last September. I thought we were going to be able to have it in April, and then we had to push it back to September again. But anyhow, those things are never easy to put on. It takes a lot of work from many different hands to get those things lined out and everything working in the right direction. And we certainly appreciate ABTA being dedicated and coming up and helping put on the event. Definitely no way we could have ever pulled this off without y'all's help. But as far as the seminar, it was having been to several different seminars across the Midwest. It was very neat to see the attendees there sitting listening to the seminar portion, the instruction, and those aha moments where they knew something was happening in their practice tracks or on their tracks, their real world tracks, and then to realize for them or for you could just see their eyes light up, or they're like, that's what was going on, or that's what I was doing wrong, or that's what I was not reading, or man, I would have never thought that I would ever got an answer to that question I had in my mind that I didn't want to ask out loud, but I saw a lot of that as I was sitting off to the side watching. I could see a lot of that going on, and even conversations that I had on breaks and stuff with people. I had a lot of feedback of like, man, I never thought about it that way, or never realized that I was doing this wrong, or I was doing that right, but I was missing one point in it that now it all kind of comes together. And then what we didn't have a whole lot of last year in 24 at the seminar was we didn't get to have a whole lot of hands-on time constraints and stuff like that with test lines and stuff that we had going. But y'all implementing that hands-on this year was a huge deal. The people that I talked to raved about that. They loved the hands-on.
They did.
Yeah, they did. They love that hands-on, being able to. For the ones that haven't been able to see it in the field, or haven't done a whole lot of practice on their own, but be able to get out there and see it, especially where the blood line was laid versus the hooves, and being able just to sit back and watch other dogs work, and then pick up those hooves and carry that line out with those hooves versus what was just laid with blood. It was really eye-opening. And also the blood, the different blood wound bed analysis, that was very informative for the ones that I talked to, that have not been on a lot of tracks or new trackers, haven't tracked a lot of real world deer, and maybe not hunted a lot, but want to get into the tracking. They really got a lot out of that as well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's a validation that the stuff we're trying to do is apparently we're doing. And funny to talk about wound beds, Jeff, Kenny, and I just before we jumped on, we're talking about the wound bed segment and how do we build on that and how do we make it even
more
more
aha moments.
some aha moments, but make it really something for the even the more experienced handlers might get a little bit out of. That's we've talked about that a lot. Lately, even before the Iowa event is okay. So, any new handler new tracker can get a lot of good stuff from a seminar. But the more experienced you are, the less you get. It's just the way it is with anything. As I always put it, you can get little morsels, but the more experienced you are, the further the gap between those morsels, and perhaps the smaller the morsels get. But there's typically something there. And so we've been talking about what do we do that can provide more value to the experienced person that so they feel like they get more than that morsel out of an event. So there's been a lot of things. We've been talking about that. We're doing a lot of mental gymnastics around that, and we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the mustache wielding phantom, Ethan Young. There he is.
Yeah, so I was literally just about to talk about him, and now he comes on.
All right.
No, so Matt, to touch on what you were talking about trying to find ways to add stuff for the more experienced teams. On the way home from Iowa, Ethan called me, and we were having a discussion. He asked a question about getting from a certain recovery rate percentage to the next level, so that's something I've been diving deep into is, what are some things that maybe some more experienced teams do that just adds a percent or two, because it, once you reach a certain level, in your tracking life, like you said, you don't get as much from going to these seminars because it's a lot of times the same thing repeated over and over again. But if you can take a couple of things and just add even just a few percentage to your success or recovery rate, that's big. And that's something that I've been putting together for next year. I'm not going to give it away, but we're going to have a topic on, how do you do that? What's it take? And it all sparked from a conversation with Ethan and I, and the question he asked, and going over stuff that some of the aha moments that we have when we're hosting these events. We'll see stuff like our grid search. We obviously we tested this stuff, but still, while we start putting this stuff together, and we'll have aha moments. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What was I going to say? I don't remember. Ethan, welcome to the show, brother.
Howdy.
So there I saw you commented, so I know you caught part of the stream before you jumped on. But Jeff and John were sharing some of the things that they, their comments and feedback from the event, and as one of the big hits was, to the extent that it could be with the just atomically atrocious conditions we had as far as scenting conditions, the great appreciation for the field work that we did. and you are the ABTA fieldwork commander, although we collaborate, but on session day, you know, that's kind of your area. So there was great appreciation for it. But other than that, buddy, what comments and feedback would you have from, you know, takeaways and things like that from the event?
Yeah, it was fun, and it was hot. I mean, it was close to some of our hotter conditions we have down here. You know, we were kind of spoiled the last couple of weeks down here before, and I mean, we got into the low 60s and up into the mid 80s for a little stretch there, and it was super nice. And then I go up to Iowa, and my wife reminds me to pack a jacket and stuff, and I'm like, all right, you know, I gotta bring that, dude. It was pretty toasty. I can tell relative to y'all's normal conditions, all the Iowans. Question mark, relative to what Iowa folks experience, that was way above normal, and you could tell dogs just weren't prepared for that. I wasn't. I was smoked out there in those dams all day, but I had fun doing even with it being a little tougher. I still really enjoy doing that field work portion.
Oh, yeah.
It's a blast to me. I think we did. We kind of segregated the two odors, the blood from the hoofs, just to demonstrate that. You got to see some cool real-time decision making from the dogs. You could tell that was the first time they had to had those odors segregated. And you know, a couple dogs went this way and then checked out the other way and then checked out this way, and checked out that way. And finally, you know, each dog was committing to the hooves. You know, infer what you want from that, but. Let's see. Then we did a controlled search demo. That was fun. My goodness. Oh yeah, and one where we kind of started in a manner that, you know, it looked as though the track was going to be headed straight into the woods, into this nice open lane, and watched to see if handlers had any inadvertent pushing, or if they had trained their dogs to just kind of dive into the woods right off at the beginning of every track. And we had some good handling during all of those. It was a good time.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about more so, the heat was terrible, but just how dry things were, it made things so hard.
Sure.
But yeah, it was good. I know I enjoyed all of that. You know, this is sort of a joke, but you know, maybe not. You know, if we run into these conditions next year, I mean, in terms of the how dry it is, I wonder. This is crazy. I wonder if the local fire department would come down and just hose down. I'm serious. You know, hose some of that down, because that could just make the demos a lot more, you know, impactful. Although they were, I mean, things were a little bit slower to develop because, and maybe not as pronounced as if there was some moisture, but the premise of all of that, those field drills and demos, worked. You know, some of the tells were maybe a little more subtle or a little slower to develop because it was dry, but
and I think on those, you know, none of that stuff was very old. It baked in the sun a few hours, but and you know, when we kind of wrangled everybody up to go to those demos, like, hey, bring your tracking stuff, your gear, we're going to do some tracking work, and some did and some didn't. And we had an attendee, you know, pointed out, I think rightly so, that contextually, a lot of the dogs weren't clear that we were doing work. You know, they were kind of in pet dog mode. They were on their normal leashes that they just hang out at the park on. And we're around dogs who've been hanging out here, and all of a sudden we just go outside where I've already gone to poop 2 times. And you tell me to find this deer, and a lot of the dogs are just kind of, you want me to do what? Like, I don't understand. Whereas if you drove down a gravel road, pull up, walk out to this place, put on their vest and all that stuff, they'd have been in the zone. They'd have known what's happening. And I thought that was pretty interesting, because some people were looking a little shocked, you know, a few of them, that like that their dog was just not as clear on the task as they had expected, you know, with their normal work, I guess. That's one of my takeaways, I guess. Sitting around at the seminar, It didn't click for some dogs that they were being asked to work. You know, there's handlers in flip flops. No offense, John. Handlers in flip flops and shorts, asking their dog to work when normally they wear certain gear every time they work, and dogs are highly pattern cognizant. And it was fascinating to see. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
We'll have Chris Moffett in charge of getting the fire department to hose down all the test lines.
I'm, not the test lines, the drills and demos area. The drills and demos area. I'm serious about that.
So maybe we can have them burn an area. We can show.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I noticed when we did the wound bed analysis is the amount of people that they got a lot of it right, but missing the fine details of getting down close and really inspecting.
Yeah. A lot of folks look straight at the blood and kind of made an inference from that, and then we kind of point out like, what's this stuff? And there's just all kinds of other material on the ground that was in the shadows and in the grass that everybody just kind of missed. Looking at blood, that's where our eyes went just every time.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Good stuff for sure.
But that's why you do those drills.
That's right.
Do those drills, do those demos. Yeah. I mean, I still learn stuff, even when I'm there, not necessarily as an attendee. I'm always an attendee kind of thing, I just I love that stuff. So okay, well, it doesn't look like Chris Johnson's going to be able to join us, but that's okay. I think we've got we'll have our after action review tomorrow. And we'll really dive into the depth of building on what we did this year. Start locking down those dates just for followers. We are getting the 2026 dates locked down. We have an outline. The outline is coming together pretty true to what it looks like as far as the confirmation goes. There's a few locations, a few states that we've got to get some confirmation on. Michigan's one of them. I've got to get with my Michigan crew and figure out what we're going to do there, pick it and lock it. So we'll be publishing those dates before too long. The quickest one, Kenny so uncomfortably reminded me, is 5 months away. With the Duvall's event when that date is locked down at some point in February. So, and
Ethan's right behind it.
And Ethan's right behind it with Arkansas locked. Ethan, what are your dates?
I believe March 5th through 7th. A couple of those days will be allocated towards testing, and I think 7th is that Saturday on March. That'll be the education day. And we'll hopefully have some elite passes there. We'll see. That test makes me nervous. It's intimidating.
Oh,
Chuck Darby's comment there, Matt?
What's that?
Yep.
See Chuck Darby's comment there?
What?
Remember the conversation we were having right before?
Yeah. But Ethan, if you are going to test an elite, I guess I'm probably better planning on going to Arkansas then. I don't know which ones I'm going to go to yet, but if there's an elite being run by all of them, that's not. But I'll be going. That's for sure.
Heck yeah.
How many people have taken the elite test?
Two.
Yeah, we've had 2 so far.
Somebody's going to pass.
I really thought it was going to be Jeff until we saw the conditions.
I did too.
Yeah, we're taking it again. First available opportunity. We'll be there as long as it's not dry.
As long as it's not 90 degrees and
and there's-
bone dry.
As long as Ethan doesn't lay it.
Oh,
So,
You
no
wanna
one
know
brought
what?
up the black cloud.
hey, I had 100% pass rate this weekend.
Yeah. That one test. Or,
No, Ethan did a great job. He doing nothing else he could do. So
Yeah,
No.
yeah, that's right. We call that the Ethonian effect. In fact, I think we're going to make a ribbon for it, Ethan.
Okay.
it's an extra ribbon if Ethan judges the test or lays the line.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. You get an extra accreditation for that for passing that one. I'm just kidding.
I mean, Jeff could work through a bulldoze line. He couldn't work through an Ethan line.
I know, right? I know. We're slipping here.
To train, you got to think like a deer. That's what I can do. I can think like a deer.
Yeah.
To train like a deer, you must become the deer. That's too funny. Cool, guys. Well, look, I think we're there. I do appreciate it, Jeff. I do want to say, let me back up to the Iowa Blood Trackers Association. I want to say thank you. Your hospitality was fantastic. Genuinely appreciate the opportunity and the invite, and look forward to building on what we did this year for next year. And I mean that very sincerely. Jeff, to you personally, I'd like to say thank you for the accommodations. It was great. Our housemate Laurel was wonderful. And I just want to say thank you for that.
For sure.
It really worked out well.
Good.
It was perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad y'all came.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, we enjoyed everybody just hanging out around the camper Thursday. That was
that was fun, John. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. The banter, the inappropriate pictures, Mullins.
Mhm.
I'm kidding, but
Hey, well, I think we had 8 states represented in Iowa, from what I could gather. From
Yeah.
Kenny and Ethan and yourself, and I think we had 8 states represented, and we really
Yep.
hope to have more than that this next year, and hopefully maybe we can, if not double our numbers, get close to it. There's always something to learn, and we will always want Iowa to be a place people can come and learn more about tracking and making themselves better handlers.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
It's honestly one of my favorite events.
And he's not making that up. He told me that Saturday night.
Good deal.
While Ethan, you were judging Chad's line, Kenny legitimately said that. So, yeah, for sure. So, again, guys, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on. I know it's hard. We are up against it here, Ethan. You missed the intro, but turn the temps down next year, Wesley Bivens.
Yeah, we probably need to go through the comments. Do we have
I
anything?
forgot. I almost forgot the comment. I was just going to say that. Let's go through here. I'm sorry, guys. Let's snag some comments.
It's like
Darren
that
Miner,
bloodhound nose
John.
going one direction, the wrong way.
Darren Miner, John says, Rumpelstiltskin has him locked in your spinning wheel. Got to go round.
What's that?
I said, yeah, Rumpelstiltskin in your spinning wheels.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yep.
A lot of
And while
comments.
you mentioned Darren Miner, and I think I saw a comment.
You did. Go ahead.
Darren had very graciously donated a set of Waskow, if I pronounced that right.
Moscow.
Waskow shoes, and very much appreciate that generosity, Darren, and certainly want to encourage everyone when you need some tracking shoes. Look Darren up. They're good shoes, very affordable, and Darren has some of the best service you'll ever customer service that you'll ever find.
And I want to second that emotion. Darren is incredibly responsive and understands what taking care of people means. So yeah, I second that. Yeah, Vicky Church says, thanks for confirming the work that goes into testing. Yeah, that's right, Vicky. Testing is the test itself for the judge is easy. That's the fun part. The work, the work is laying the line, particularly on those advanced level lines. It's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun.
And to touch on what John said earlier, anyone's welcome to come out and participate on these test lines. Especially the advanced ones. We need the extra help and the participation.
Yeah.
And like on Jeff's elite line, I had the group that was actively grid searching when he showed up, and they enjoyed that. That was, we spent some time talking about different scenarios and test lines, and they did an awesome job at really messing Jeff up.
Which is the whole idea of the elite level test.
That's right.
And I will tell you, so I had the second group of people further down the line, and what I was able to do was, we didn't get to see Jeff because we were farther down the line, but I had Jeff. I don't know if you knew, I had your track code. Ethan gave me your track code, so I had my Garmin. So we could follow along with where you were in what you were doing, and it was fun because at that point I have the opportunity to the 6 or 8 people that were in my group. We talk about tracking. We could talk about the test. We could look at the Garmin, and I could explain where you were and where you're at, how close you were, and what was going on. So that was a lot of fun too. Although we didn't get a chance to see you, there was still good that came of it and fun engagement with the small group that I had.
Right.
Yep. Kenny, if you see a comment, let me know. I'm just glancing through here. I'll grab Perry. Perry, I'll say it right this time, even though you dogged my bloodhound. Jeff Still, you're muted for dogging. Anytime you get down on yourself about a test track, just think of Chuck Darby. What does that mean, Kenny? Not sure. Put you on the spot. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was he had a dog show up on his test line.
Yeah.
In the middle of one in Louisiana.
No, so I'll tell you another good story about Chuck Darby and talking about the shot site. The way we set it up, it made Chuck think that the line went a certain direction, and Chuck pushed his dog in the wrong direction and got a call back. And of course, I was doing a little trash talking at that point. And I said,
okay, now it all makes sense.
Yeah, I said, I guess I'm gonna have to call Tom Hill and his coon dog and have him come out here and find this deer. And that lit a fire under I swear Chuck's dog could understand exactly what I was saying. And Chuck finally just said, you know what? I've already screwed up once. Now, after this, it's going to be the dog screwing up. And he said, just let her go her own way. And they rocked the test line from there out.
Imagine that. When you let the dog do what the dog wants to do, typically he's pretty decent result, huh?
Yeah.
Hard.
Like I said, the way we set it up, like I said, and that's what he was talking about in his comment earlier. It made him want to push the dog into the woods in the direction he thought it should have went. And we went basically down a mowed edge between the blacktop and the wood line. So again, one of Ethan's scenarios he set up in the field at the seminar was exactly that. Chuck wanted to push the dog into the woods.
Yep.
It's tempting, and you can just do a little nudge and all of a sudden your dog's off odor, and and then you want to push farther to see if something happens, and it could spiral out of control.
Yeah, and his dog was telling him, clearly telling him, like, this isn't the right way, but okay, you want me to go this way? I'm going to go this way.
See, that's where sometimes those hammer-headed bloodhounds, they don't care what you want it to do. Oh, man. Fun banter. So, referencing, the comment that I made about my perception of Florida, that every puddle of water has a gator in it. Perry Lawrence says, unless it's a mud puddle, there's a gator in it.
So I was looking for the picture to share. I've got it somewhere. A member of our hunting club had a feeder hanging, and below the feeder was a tiny mud puddle, just where the hogs had rooted up, and there was just a little bit of water and basically a mud puddle. And he got a picture of about 11-foot gator eating a hog that came up to feed in that water under that feeder. I'll find it. I'll find it and share it.
Wonder if you have barbecue sauce. Well, in reply to Perry Lawrence's, unless it's a mud puddle, there's a gator in it. Mike Maynard said, Perry Lawrence, we had a gator in a puddle on the road last year on a track. See, you can forget it. I ain't ever tracking the floor. I'll come down fishing with you, buddy, but I ain't tracking. You can forget it. And I'm only going to fish if there's a big freaking wire cage around the boat. I've seen videos of gators climbing in boats. You can forget it.
It's not quite like that.
Oh, okay.
They run from my boat.
They run from your boat, and I like it. So here you go, John. Perry Sagely, the Bloodhound Hater, says, from someone that has been tracking since the late 90s, watching others work tracks, watching other dogs, walking along with Kenny and these guys will make you a better handler, no doubt. So again, shout out to Kenny for sure. But the sentiment there, following other people and watching other people do stuff, that's great stuff, man. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, if you want to take your handling and your ability to read dogs to the next level, definitely consider trying out judging. Yeah, it may not be right for you, but it will definitely take you to that next level.
Yep. Alanda Conan, love being around like-minded tracking people at the seminar, and there is where the gold lies. And John, you referenced it. Is being around like-minded people who love doing the same thing you do, and just sharing the stories and sharing the camaraderie and the brotherhood and all of that. It truly does matter.
Yeah, and Alanda likes snakes too.
Alanda likes snakes. You know what? I don't believe you. And I don't like snakes either, Alanda.
I can bring one next year.
Nope.
It got pretty lively over a garter snake out on.
Did it? Oh, that is fun.
Well, she did win all the door prizes, so.
Yeah, she did.
She did clean up, didn't she, Jeff? Yeah, I think she had to run a U-Haul to carry take it all back with them. Yeah, I said Wesley says turn the temps down next year. And we're just going to have the fire department come and spray and mist while we're out there, Wesley. Let's see. Kenny, you see any other comments you want to grab? I've scrolled through them. A lot of Dave Hoffman. Dave, it's our pleasure, man. Thanks for all your work. Well, thanks for all of your hospitality and participation. That does mean a lot.
Yeah. I don't see any other comments, but just want to touch on again, like you said, Matt, we're getting into a busy season for everyone, so if you don't see us as active for some reason, keep in mind we're busy tracking.
Yeah, and I was gonna plug that again just to remind everybody. I opened the show with, for any latecomers, I opened the show with, starting after today, next week, the live streams are going to be much more spontaneous. As October 1st, I know that's Wednesday, but starting next week, tracking season proper opens up across the nation. We've already had some. Kenny, you're already in full swing. All those Iowa people, Ethan, Michigan people, and everywhere else is opening up their proper season. So we're going to be tracking. And it's not going to allow us to be as scheduled with the live streams. So our live streams, when they're truly live, will be relatively spontaneous. And we're going to talk about whatever we talk about. However, there will be content. We will post old lives and other videos and things. And you may catch me going live on my drive home from a track just to get a 20-minute convo about whatever it is that happened on that track. And Kenny might do the same thing. Kenny and I may decide, hey, neither one of us have a track on Tuesday night. Let's jump on. So just keep watching. We'll be present in some form. Just the lives are going to take on a little more spontaneity until tracking season is over. Then we'll get back into our regular groove. But we are still here. We are doing what got us all engaged with the ABTA, and that is out tracking deer. So we're still here, guys. Any closing thoughts?
One thing that's been going through my mind is I've been to a number of other events, not a lot, but several. It's one thing, and I'm directing this towards people that I think attend events mainly. It's one thing, you go to an event, you appreciate what's going on, you thank the people. Getting engaged in this one and seeing kind of what goes on behind the scenes, it's a real eye-opener. And of course, there's a lot of work that goes in, as everybody knows, ahead of the event, getting things lined up. It's easy to understand that. But I didn't really understand as much the work that the judges go through during the event, trying to juggle things. Maybe a testee doesn't show up, or swapping tracks, or just whatever's happening. These judges work their tails off at an event trying to coordinate multiple tests for all of us that are wanting to take tests. And I think that it's real important to show appreciation, one, understand the work they go through, and show a lot of appreciation for that, because it's a lot of hard work. And they all enjoy it, and they're having fun. But it's just really going above and beyond, serving the tracking community at a much higher level than most people really realize. And so that was another aha moment for me as well. So
John,
thank you all.
Appreciate you sharing that, and that's true regardless of the organization. But do appreciate you sharing that, and it can also be hazardous. I mean, I haven't talked to Kenny about my hazardous duty pay.
It's the same.
Oh, is it the same? Okay, it's a multiple of 0. Okay, got it. But no, in all seriousness, John, I do genuinely appreciate that sentiment and that, in you sharing that. You know, it's work. It's a labor of love,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that it's not stressful at times. You know, and there's a lot going on. So yeah, appreciate that.
Yep. So thank you.
Our pleasure. All right, guys. You know, I want to close with Brittany Bertoli's note. 'Tis the season to go tracking. La, 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 la. Happy and safe tracking, y'all. Looking forward to starting our season. And yes, thank you for all your for all that you're doing to help. So, Brittany, thank you. And I will close as this really is the final. The final scheduled live for the live stream season. You know, track, have fun, be safe, be smart. You're never in this alone. You always have somebody to call. You're gonna hit rock bottom. You're gonna ride a rocket ship on the highest high you've ever had. This is, you know, kind of a note to the newer people. Be prepared for that roller coaster. No, your dog is not broken. No, you are not broken. You
I
will
need
go.
you to repeat that for my son.
I was just going to say that. Dakota, your dog is fine. You will have that 0 and 10. You can't control the calls you get. You can't control what the hunter did beforehand. You can't control the property. You can't go on. Let it hurt, but because it means you care, but don't let it beat you up, and don't beat yourself up. But be safe, have fun, do what you love to do, and reach out, ask for help when you need it, because I know I'm going to be.
Very
I
good.
know I'm going to be. So, again, guys, I appreciate everything. I think we're good. We will sign off for now. Until the next live, whenever that may be, guys. Let me just say this: followers, the faithful followers and fans, thank you so much for being there for us and providing that motivation for us to keep going every week. You know, to find a topic and participating in generating topics for us. That is also meaningful. Your contributions are what help sustain this. What I think to be a great thing in these ABTA Tuesday Night Live. So I'm proud to be a part of them. I appreciate everybody's support, participation. With that, I will say more of the good, less of the bad, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Not
Appreciate y'all.